and
Yeah.
making sure that our ambitions and our desires don't overcome the support network that holds it down for you, that allows you to do what you do. Right. I would say that, the easiest thing to do is say, make sure that, you and your couple are honest and truthful about what it is you can and can't do. Obviously, that's what's working. But I think the other part of that is making sure you know your other half, right? Like, if you got someone that's always going to say, yeah, I support you, go ahead and do those things, right? But your significant other can almost like ground you and bring you back to.
I would love to say that my emotional intelligence at work matches my emotional intelligence in my personal life.
I think all of us would like to say that.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Because
why?
I'm quick to get captivated by an idea that I know will be successful in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I have this idea. And she'll just be like, okay. And I will say the idea. And it doesn't matter how good or bad the idea is.
Okay.
She does not match my energy.
You can be a leader, but a leader is a developed set of skills. It's a developed set.
Doing lovely. It's still freaking hot here in Japan, but it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah, man. Still 80 and beautiful in Hawaii. I can't complain. I've been kind of crazy. Two of my boys are in doing flag football. So my weeks have been a lot busier between practicing games and everything like that. But it's been fun, man. So, work is good. I think, man, everything's going all right. Just a little busy, but that's how we like it. I feel like we don't know how to sit still. So busy is probably normal.
Yeah. School done start back for the girls. So got cross country. Yeah. All the things associated with that. So volleyball. Yep. It's kicked back up, and the extra layer of busyness has made its way into the Owens household. So
there you go. Well, hey, if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, welcome to Leadership State of Mind, where we live by a couple mottos, but one of the main ones is our job and our goal is rarely does becoming a leader make you a better person, but becoming a better person will make you a better leader. And we are here to make better husbands, spouses, cousins, brothers, aunts, uncles. We want to make you a better person so you can lead the people that you serve. So thank you for logging on. Thank you for continuing to follow us, like, share, subscribe, because we got a pretty good episode today. Before we get into the main topic, oh man, it was all good just a week ago, man. What's been going on?
Man, it was all good just a week ago. And it's going to be a lesson that I continue to learn, just because it's hard. You got expectations for your people. You got expectations for the foundations that you set, for the structure that you've set. And then when things get outside of that structure, for those that value structure, that value that foundation, it could be pretty frustrating. So, and you've heard me say this before, but I think it's a lesson that we all have to continually learn. And that's grace, giving people the opportunity and the space to mess up and have mistakes. Pretty big mistake happened over the weekend. But the last thing that I wanted to do was go directly at my team.
Yeah.
The initial inclination, though, that first, man, how could you, there's all those things, right? And the thing that's always helped me is being able to write these things down or capture them in some way so I can allow the emotion to flow through me. Mm-hmm. But pretty big mistake. Trying my best to give my team grace for a big mistake. So I just challenge you out there, and I continually challenge myself that people are not doing things on purpose. They're not messing these things up on purpose. I call back Hanlon's razor. It's a mental model that when people mess up, it's typically attributed to ignorance, lack of expectations, vice, maliciousness. People are not just out here doing things wrong just to do them wrong, just to mess up, just so they can see the world burn. They may be out there. I haven't met them. So the people I've come in contact just made a mistake. So give people grace And it's a lesson that I continue to learn. Just giving people grace along the way.
Oh man, that's a great lesson. That's a great lesson, man. No one woke up this morning to attack you personally.
Yep.
Right? Like, all
Yep.
right, man, that's a good one. Yeah, man. So for me, what I said was when leaders lose focus on what's important. I think I said this before we started, man. I think this podcast is going to be one of my most vulnerable ones. No one's perfect on this show. We all trying to get better. That's why we're out here doing a podcast. But I kind of had my eyes open the last couple weeks, and it was by my wife saying that she kind of needed more of me at home, and she needed me to put in the same type of energy that I do at work at home, and she felt like it wasn't equally being distributed. And I think me and you know each other for a long time. Hearing that was painful, right? Like I think, the whole part of this podcast is talking about the importance of having a significant other and having a strong base and having people that support you. And my wife certainly has held it down for me through this career. We've been together for, 14, 15 years now. And, through the deployments, through all the things, she's always sacrificing for the better of the Amato family and certainly for me. And so I would say, as a leader, man, like, don't lose focus on what's important. If your family and taking care of the people that love you and support you is important, make sure you don't lose focus on some things that are not as important. So that was a gut check. But like we always talk about on the show, man, like we don't sit up here and act like we're perfect. We're always trying to get better. And so yeah, man, focus on what's important. And if you do that, you can get back on track.
Absolutely, man. I echo, what you said at the outset of that statement. We're not trying to project perfection here.
Sure.
We've gone through some things. We've seen some things. We've been successful. But at the end of the day, we're just human. And the goal of all of this is to reveal, even within the mess ups, even within the struggles, even within all of the things that we have contributed to a failure in some way, shape, or form, that you can still be the leader that you desire to be. And it's how you respond to that really matters. We're able to talk about our experiences because we've messed up.
Sure.
Because we've lost track of the most important thing, because we got off focus. And I shared the same, me and Ty have been together for 24 years. Yeah. And I think my ambition has gotten the best of me on numerous occasions. Not saying that this is what this is with you. It's just this is our mind. Sure. This is how I always get in trouble. This is how I always find myself in a situation where I got to get told, excuse my language, but my wife telling me to sit my ass down. And
sure.
So but I think, and I hope that the vulnerability that we're going to talk about through this podcast can help you be the leader that you are striving to be, and be the better and be the person that you're striving to be as well.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate that transparency. And as you will see, as I break down, it was all good just a week ago, and we get into the blueprint and what we're reading right now. You're gonna see that through actions, not through words, exactly what book I went to and my attempt to try to get back on track. So the book I chose was building a better marriage, building a marriage better than new. It's by Cindy Beale. And, honestly, man, it was just getting back to basics to me. The book talks about how to invest more into your marriage and show you care with actions, not words. And I just think I needed it as an alignment tool. I think when I'm the best version of myself, I'm working out. I have a good, I'm self-regulating. I'm doing things for myself. The family's going to church, and we're kind of just centered and on the same page. And so when, like in all things, man, if you fall off your diet or your workout doesn't go right, things can get off track and you don't feel like you're the best version of yourself. And so as the wife kind of recentered me and really brought home some important stuff, I wanted to make sure I had the right book to put me in the right mindset to get me back on the right page. So that's what I'm reading right now. really dope book, really good perspective. About halfway through it, so I'll probably wrap it up this week or next week. So, what
Yeah.
about you, man? What you reading?
Yeah. So I just started this book called The Expectation Effect, and by this author named Dave Robinson. So it talks about how your mindset can change your world. And I think we talk about mindset a lot here.
Sure.
Even last time we did the podcast, we really kind of talked about reframing. You brought up an amazing point of how the feedback that you could be getting from your team that you can initially sense as divisive. If you
Yeah.
reframe that, you can look at it in a way that your team is comfortable enough bringing difficult things to you, and that's a positive. So it's really about reframing, but it's through the lens of the placebo effect, because it talks about control groups and experiments where they've given people medicine that wasn't medicine, and sugar pills and things of that nature, where they were looking to heal some malady, and the malady will get healed with using the sugar tabs, so to speak. And it just talks about how you frame the world. If you have an expectation of something to work, you have an expectation for something to be positive, you expect it to have a positive outcome, how that can work for you. Just talks about how you see the world, the lens that you see the world through can have a direct effect on how the outcome turns out. And I thought it was really potent. And there's a couple of experiments in there, and some quantum experiments that they talk about there. I think are really fascinating, that I'm not going to go into here, because I'm not even going to attempt to try to talk through that. I haven't grasped it all the way. I think it's cool. That's the kind of level I'm at right now. I haven't
Sure.
fully absorbed it. I just think, oh, this is pretty cool. That's awesome. But the understanding hasn't sunk in yet, so I'm not gonna mess it up. But it's called The Expectation Effect, and it just talks about managing your expectations in terms of how you see the world and how it can really, really help the outcome. And I typically use it in my own leadership style, because the way that I see my team is a couple of steps higher than they actually are. So I never really saw my E5s as E5. I saw my E5s as Chiefs.
Sure.
So if I see them that way, then I'm going to tailor my approach. I'm going to tailor my training. I'm going to tailor my mentoring in a way that's going to get them to that level, right? So even if they don't see it for themselves, but my expectation for them is to see them better than they are. And I think that's one of the best attributes of some of the best leaders that I've come in contact with too. So,
Man, I love
good
that.
book.
Yeah, it's certainly it's such an interesting concept because we talk about setting expectations for other people, but this is more like setting expectations for yourself, right? And making
Yeah.
sure that you're in the right headspace and taking the right approach to whatever situation it is to make sure that you're able to deliver for the people that you serve, with the right message and the right framing. That's a cool concept. What you said, David who?
Dave Robinson, Robson, Robson.
Oh, Robson. Okay, because I'm
Yeah.
immediately thinking my boy from the San Antonio Spurs is out there dunking on people, and now he's writing books. No, different one. All right, I got it. I'm tracking Robinson. Okay, all right, man. So I'm gonna make you go first, man, because every time I drop a bar first, you gotta come over the top on me. So I'm gonna pretend this is like a rap battle, and so I'm gonna let you go first. That way I can end it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to drop the mic on you. What bars you got this week? What quote stuck with you this week?
All right, so this bar came directly out of my running. So if you remember, those who've been sticking with us at Leadership State of Mind, we talked about the goals that we were setting for ourselves at the beginning of the year, things that we wanted to get better at. One of the things I highlighted was wanting to get better at running. Matter of fact, I just bought me some of those new Alpha Flies.
You
The
needed
new
them.
Nike Alpha Flies. I
You needed
did,
them.
and they're so dope. Anyway,
I ran a half
so I've been
marathon
putting
last weekend, by the way.
So I'm putting some miles in the pavement. So I heard that he said that he ran a half marathon. I'm not listening to him right now, because I ain't there yet. I ain't running that. Been doing probably about between 3 to 5 a night. 8:30 is about the time that is acceptable to run here. It's
Yeah.
just in terms of the heat. So, 8:30. But so as I was running, the pain that your body is sending you, the pain, the signal, the pain that your body is sending you is just the story. You can either be the reader or the narrator.
Mm. Okay.
If you're the reader, you believe the story.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the narrator, you get to tell the story. So if you are just a reader, that pain is going to make you stop.
Yep.
But if you're the narrator, this is all good because this is just weakness leaving the body. I'm just getting stronger with every stride.
Yeah.
I'm getting better every single step. So even though pain is telling you a story, pain is just telling you a story.
Mm.
It's not good. It's not bad. But you're going to either be the reader or you can be the narrator.
Okay. All right. I like that. All right, man. So from Cindy Beale, she said, God doesn't waste one single bit of our pain. When something bad happens, you have three choices. You can let it define you, let it destroy you, or let it strengthen you. And that hit because if you just talked about reframing. We talked about having the right mindset, going
Yeah.
to a situation the right way. Sometimes the truth hurts, man. Sometimes being told you're not hitting the right notes or you're not doing the things that you need to do, that's painful, especially coming from loved ones or a boss. If a boss is telling you like, hey man, you don't think you're delivering at work or whatever the message is, man, like that can be painful. But God doesn't put you in a situation to make you waste it. So what are you going to do with those truths? What are you going to do with that negative situation? And I think, obviously here at Leadership State of Mind, we hope that it strengthens you, right? Like you learn from it, you get better, you grow from it. And so, like I normally do, my bars come from the books that I'm reading, and that stuck out to me. I ran that back about 2 or 3 times because I was running, listening to it. I was like, all right, click. So,
Yeah. I always find it hilarious.
yeah,
That some way, shape, or form, having not have a conversation
I
previously,
know.
we merge into the same lane. Both of
It's
us
so
talking about a response to pain.
it's so crazy. As you were saying it, I was like, yo, I swear it's fake. We we can go to a casino or something together, man. I feel like we could run. We ain't never been in a casino together. I'm ready to go do that.
Nope, no doubt, no doubt.
Jeez.
I was just like, wow, that's another one.
Oh
And
man.
that's why even like it happened last night. I haven't really even fully formed the quote. I thought like the message as I was running, I was like, oh, this is resonating with me. This is good. So yeah, man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh man. All right, bro. So we dropped some bars, and now we at the part of the podcast where we talk about 99 problems, but leadership ain't one. So
Yeah.
tell me your tip of the week. What's your tip of the week?
Don't do what 99% of the population does. Don't
Okay.
reject something. Don't reject something merely because of its simplicity. Wisdom is found in simplicity. You may be able to explain a concept in a way that college graduates can understand, doctorate level personnel can understand, but can you explain it so that an 8-year-old can understand the concept?
Sure.
Don't reject simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom is found in simplicity. Gain a concept, gain an understanding of something so that you're able to simplify that thing and really break it down so that anybody can understand it. A lot of times we see something so simple, so what we deem to be elementary, and we put ourselves above that and say, oh, that's beneath me. That concept is beneath me because it may not have a lot of flowery words. But don't reject the simplicity. Wisdom is found in simplicity.
Man, I could have used that when I was trying to explain a very simple concept to my 4th grader, trying to teach him some math. I guess I need to work on my simplicity. No, I like that, man. That's a good concept. Because I think you talked about it. I think one of your quotes a couple months ago is something about using words like
Yeah,
words
brevity
that
is
are
the soul of wit. Yeah,
yeah, right. It's like, man, you don't need to use all those big words. Can you just speak so everyone can understand you in the room? Like, you don't need to try to prove you're the smartest person, because you
yep,
lose people sometimes. I'm not saying you
yeah,
shouldn't, pursue higher education and have a very adequate vocabulary, but yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, all right, man. Well,
yeah,
in keeping with the podcast and the main segment, my tip of the week is easy, man. Put more time in at home than you do at work, right? Or
yeah,
at least match the energy. This podcast, we're going to get into the benefit of having significant others and spouses that hold it down for you, and the benefit of having a family that kind of grounds you and supports you and picks you up, and how those things can lead to you being a better version of yourself. I'll tell you, all the accomplishments and things that I've been able to get to, everything from degrees to, some of the jobs that I've been able to get, the advancements. One of the things that can get lost in the sauce is what the people at home are doing to support you. And so, man, don't lose sight of that. We're gonna
yeah.
get into that in the podcast, but that's my message for y'all, man. Like, your job is important, and your job and taking care of people and being a servant leader and supporting, and putting food on the table and doing all those things is great, man. But like, that person that is also working, or a stay-at-home mom, or holding down the house and supporting you, or allowing you to chase your dreams so that you can be happy and you can be great, man. Make sure you giving that energy back and acknowledging and recognizing the significance that role plays. So that's
Absolutely.
that's my tip of the week.
That's dope, man. That's dope, and it's so true. So true. Doesn't need any more illumination. Any more illumination for me. It's
Okay.
just true. It's just
All
true,
right.
man.
All right, man. Well, that's kind of our little short segment. So, like I said, if you haven't been in Leadership State of Mind, we'd like to go through some different segments, and before we get into the main topic, and now we're going to get into the main topic. And so, as I
Yep.
alluded to previously, I believe that we cannot reach our full potential without a support network and a system at home and people that have your back and that make you feel safe and trusted. So, as always, before we start a podcast, me and O will kind of go back and forth, just kind of figuring out, hey, what do we want to talk about this week? What's the topic going
Yep.
to be? And I brought this one up, and you was immediately excited about it, man. You wanted to talk about
Yeah.
it. So, why is it so important to you to have this conversation for the people?
Because it matters so much. Because I think about that. There's a running video that plays in my head consistently,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the video of an individual, whether it be a master chief, the rank is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the Navy as the organization that I'm talking about in terms of retiring from, but any organization matters. But leaving that organization, having a retirement ceremony without your family there,
Yeah. Oof.
having people come and speak well about who you are, well about your service, celebrate you, get you a shadow box that captures all of your accomplishments. You're piped ashore for the last time
Mm-hmm.
by yourself.
Mm.
That visual plays in my mind at least once a week
Wow.
because it's so detrimental to put all this effort in for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and you've had people along the way with you, and you've chosen to put in some way, shape, or form, put the organization before those people.
Yeah.
When it's 100% of a certainty that this organization will kick you out of it, regardless of whether or not you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So with my approach, I'm thinking about, because I struggle with ambition. Like, if I have a minute to do it, I'm going to try to do 5 minutes worth of something in 1 minute.
Sure.
That's just that's how I'm wired. If there's an opportunity that I see, I'm going to go towards it. And I have routinely, messed up with my better half in the pursuit of those ambitions.
Yeah.
And it is solely by the grace of God that woman is still here with me 24 years later. Because it's easy to become blinded by your own desires. It's easy to become blinded by what you think the next big thing is, and you want to be at the head of that wave.
Yeah.
But all things ain't for you.
Sure.
If it's going to risk the people that's closest to you. So when you talked about it, I was like, yeah, man, because we haven't spoken about this element of leadership. We haven't really, we've touched it, I think. We've kind of picked at it just a little bit, but it's so huge. Because I will tell you, the battery in my back, the fuel for me, it comes from my family.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't come from, haters. Like, oh man, hey, I get so much, hate from fuel. I mean, get fuel from hate. Like, nah, man, that's not how I'm wired. I don't care about you hating me. They ain't got nothing to do with me. It is the love and support that I get from the people that love me the most. That energy is infinite. And that's where I derive all of my passion, all of my joy. So I would do my best not to put that in jeopardy. So when you talked about it, I was like, yeah, man, we got to talk about it because it's so real.
Yeah. And so, my first question to you, because obviously we are similar in our inability to do nothing. My wife tells me that she's like, your number one weakness is you don't know how to relax. So I struggle with that. Right. And, it's, if I'm not going to school, I'm starting a podcast. If I'm not doing, you know what I mean? Like, go from one thing to the next, gonna try to run a marathon, gonna try to do something, right? Gonna try to write a book. So how do you, is it, can I drop your wife's name on here? Are we good? Are we good? Yeah. Okay. All right. So what does Ty do? First of all, shout out Ty. We all know that you hold it down in the Owens household. There's no doubt about that. But is she the one that reels you back, or are there moments that you realize, like, what do you do when you like have the self-realization, the actualization, the emotional intelligence, the self-awareness to be like, I am not putting the right energy at home as I am in other places? I mean, because you're busier than me, man. We ain't gonna get into all the businesses and all the things, but I'm trying to get where you're at. But how does that work for you? What are some things that you do? Some tools?
Yeah, I would love to say that my emotional intelligence at work matches my emotional intelligence in my personal life.
I think all of us would like to say that.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't, because
why?
I'm quick to get captivated. I'm quick to get captivated by an idea that I know will be successful in some way, shape, or form.
Sure.
And it's so funny to me because Ty has taken on this approach where she is supremely stoic. Like, she knows any little bit of positive energy that is reciprocated from what I say.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I have this idea. And she'll just be like, okay. And I will say the idea. And it doesn't matter how good or bad the idea is.
Okay.
She'll just be like, so you actually think that you can do that? And it's like something hits me in my face. Like, no, I can't. I absolutely can't do that. Right. So her stoicism and the fact, because if I get a glimmer, of just like a small little bit of like, oh, that's a great idea.
If she matches it, Yeah, like you ain't sleeping. Okay. All right. That's funny.
So, yeah, man. So she remains stoic and it's one everything she does is intentional. So I know it's 100% intentional that
Yeah,
she does not match my energy.
sure.
Even if like, and she may come down the line 2-3 months later and say, "Hey, I thought that was actually a good idea,
Yeah.
but we're past it now," and right. But she doesn't give me the opportunity, especially just knowing what we're currently doing, what we're currently
Yeah.
going into. So she is the stabilizer, the structure in my personal life and in my professional life, because there have been times where I've wanted to pursue some other things in my professional career, and and all I saw was the good. All
Hmm.
I saw was the possible positive outcomes. This is the danger of setting positive expectations and not seeing the forest for the trees,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
She'll give me that perspective on the other side. I was like, hey, look, have you looked at it like this? Because there's positive reframing and there's negative reframing.
Yep.
And you can use both of those for your benefit.
Sure.
So she would reframe like, wait, hey, what about if you do get this? What about this possibility?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just thankful that she has always been honest with me from day one. She's never faked the funk. She's never been like, oh yeah, I think it could be fine. It's like,
Hmm.
baby, you ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
Show me an hour in your calendar where you even got time to even approach that.
Sure.
Yeah, you right.
Okay, so if
Yeah,
I'm
you right.
hearing this right, you don't actually have any advice other than to find you a better half that that keeps you in check. Okay, all right, that's I got it. Tracking. All right, man.
Or
So,
or or
or yeah,
find
or
something that can build that structure for you.
yeah,
Something or someone that can define that structure for you so that it's immediately obvious that you cannot pursue that thing,
yeah,
right? And for me, I use that calendar. My calendar is very, very, very specific, down to the 15 minutes. And even when we're structuring, our podcast and getting that scheduled, like everything goes into that calendar so that like
yeah,
I know 2 weeks, try to base work changes, obviously, but
sure,
at least I got a window and I can look and okay, in 2 weeks, I think we can make this happen. But I can't add anything extra because I know how these things are structured. She's backed me up on that stuff, or not backed me up, but just told me outright, no, we ain't doing this.
I've actually seen some of those interactions, so
You've been witness to that.
I've certainly witnessed it.
Yeah, you've
You
seen
know,
my disease in
yeah,
at work.
yeah, I got it. And I just think, as we continue to talk about, as people that are watching the show, watching the podcast, that want to become better leaders, that are driven, motivated, inspired, and they have all these ideas and these things that they want to do. I think we just kind of wanted to have this podcast be about recentering, right? And
Yeah.
making sure that our ambitions and our desires don't overcome the support network that holds it down for you, that allows you to do what you do, right? I would say that, the easiest thing to do is say, make sure that, you and your couple are honest and truthful about what it is you can and can't do, right? Obviously
Yeah.
that's what's working. But I think the other part of that is making sure you know your other half, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you got someone that's always going to say, yeah, I support you, go ahead and do those things, that can pay a toll as well, right? So make sure you don't overdo it, as far as like, take, and put yourself in a situation where you're not filling the glass back up for your significant other. And you got to figure out for you what that looks like. That's a communication piece. I think about this aha moment, and it's almost like the last couple of weeks I kind of had one of those, because I remember going through premarital counseling, and we was watching this video, reading this book or something, and there was this part where it talked about how women men are just built to fix problems. And sometimes women want to call to vent to you, but they don't actually want you to fix anything. They
Yeah.
just want you to like be there to listen. And I'm watching this video And it's like, yeah, a lot of times what'll happen is the woman will call up to vent. They don't actually want you to fix the problem at all. But then you come up with solutions and things to try to fix their problem. And then they actually just get pissed at you. Like they're now mad at you for trying to give advice that they didn't even want in the first place. And I watched that video and I was like, that is me. I remember looking at Joy and being like, I did that. I do that. She's like, all the time. And so it was like, okay. I'm like, so now when you call up the vent, I'm going to be like, is this one of those things where you want some advice or you just want to vent? And then she'll be like, yeah. And I just ask her straight up. And that was like an aha moment for me. And I think now this new aha moment is just making sure you take a step back and remember that if you're the one that's trying to do all these things and you're running around trying to start businesses and hold down and run a current organization, write a book, do this, do that, that you need to make sure that the one at home is getting what they need to, because they need to recharge the batteries. They need to make sure that they can do the things. And so, yeah, man, just don't lose sight of the importance of holding down that other half and making sure that they're getting what they need as well. So a little bit of a different direction for the podcast today, but still aligned with what we're talking about, right? Like what the mission is. If we're trying to become better people, that means being better spouses and taking care of the ones that take care of us and hold us down. I don't know what you was thinking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, what do you think about, so things that I've tried to do along the way is being more collaborative with all the things that I'm a part of, and making it kind of a family thing, right? So it's not necessarily separate. You hear the term work-life balance all the time, but in terms of making it collaborative, bringing the family and making them a part of what you're doing, it's easier, I think, in the Navy, just because we're in service, and we have the privilege of being CMCs, and we can bring our families into certain things. But what do you think about being collaborative with that? You think that's a go or a no go, or is it levels to it?
I think there's levels to it. I also think it depends on, the significant other, right? Like I will tell you that, when it comes to the podcast and certain things, this just isn't something that, my spouse is like super passionate about. But if there was, if it was like real estate or something else, like, then I think it would be different. So, I mean, I think in all things, communication is the key, and certainly creating buy-in and discussing the why on why you're doing certain things, the big picture. I think taking on new challenges without communicating to your significant other the long-term goal, right? We talk about, again, like what I want you to realize, everyone, is that we sit here and we know how to walk into a room and set expectations and have the right attitude and build the right culture. And then you get home and these tools that are extremely effective, you like don't feel like you need to do them, right? Or like you just skip it because, oh, they know, or whatever, right? And the point is that maybe they don't. And so you're not going to walk into a board meeting and set expectations with your wife. But if you have this vision to start up this new thing, or to go down this path to start a company, to start a business, or really like try to apply for this new job, or whatever the thing is, bounce that off your significant other to make sure that they understand why you want to do it, right? Because, like you said with Ty, she's giving you some of the best feedback. You think you want to do this thing, and then she'll reframe it for you or put it in a perspective like, well, what about this, this, and this? Because we get so excited, we get a new idea, a new thought goes in our head. Someone says something and offers something, and we're like a million miles a minute because we want to go do the next thing. We want to support the mission. We want to support the job, whatever. And but your significant other can almost like ground you and bring you back to reality. Well, what about this, this, and this? And I think that's so important. So we're always willing to, give people the why at work and set these expectations at work to make sure that everyone's good. And then at home, we miss the mark on that. Not always, right? I mean, I'm just saying, like, but it happens. And I
It
would
does
say
happen.
more often than not, it probably happens more at home than at work.
Yeah.
And that is something that I am actively trying to change. And why I thought, and honestly, this whole podcast thing was already an idea before any of this stuff kind of popped off, right? So this is just like alignment, and it's crazy. It's just how things happen in our world, man.
Yeah.
But
I'll be even more transparent. I'll tell y'all the story. So I made chief in 06, and I reported to
old.
Yep.
You are old.
I reported to the USS Boise, and I was supposed to be there for 3.5 years. And there was an opportunity at the midpoint, at that 3-year point, to stay on board for another 2.5 years. Because the way my rating worked, there was two sides. There was being a maintenance navigation ET, and there was being an assistant navigator.
Mm-hmm.
What I would have had to do was leave that command, go to shore duty for 3 years, and then come back to another submarine for another 3 years, kind of delaying the process, delaying the advancement opportunities. So without having a conversation with my wife, I extended for 3 years, 3 months before I was supposed to transfer.
I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't even know this story. I've known you for a long time. I didn't know you did that. Ty, you are an angel. You are a saint. Go ahead. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead. Tell the rest of the story.
I had told myself this story. Convinced myself this is how can this is foolproof. I'm gonna make senior chief, and then I'll go to shore duty. I'll qualify Cobb, and I'll make master chief, and then I'll be able to make it up. I told myself this ridiculous story. Ain't had near conversation with my wife. My wife got expectations about going back to school, because she had got out of the Navy at this point. Going back to school, doing this, doing that. But she couldn't do anything while I was on sea because we got the kids, and there's no consistency because out to sea all the time, right? Man, you talk about the closest it really came to, hey man, that was not good. And so what reaches back for me is get the stuff out of my head and communicate specifically. Specifically, I have a habit of communicating in the clouds, like, hey, this grand plan, but not talking about the specifics associated with it. And that was, you talk about an aha moment. Aha. Be homeless.
Yeah. I'm sure you know those one-way conversations we have. I'm sure you was on the side of that one. You was just you was in receive mode.
I was definitely in receive mode. Definitely in receive mode. Yeah. So
that's crazy, man. I've never heard that story before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I say all that to say, hey, don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do that.
Good idea.
Or anything like that.
Yeah.
Have the specific communication, because we talk about communication is key. Specific communication is key. Don't leave anything unturned when you're having these conversations. Bring them all the way in. They deserve all the information. They deserve every piece of it. And don't try to figure this thing out for them. They got their own minds.
Yeah.
That's why you married them. That's why you're there with them.
I like that.
So yeah, that.
I mean, I don't like that story. I actually I was actually fearful for you just when you telling that story.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I got extended, and I did not have a choice. I was like, I got extended, and I remember going. It was the first time in my life I went directly to the jewelry store, bro. Like, I didn't even. Joy was about to have we were about to have our first kid. I was about to transfer to shore duty. It was October. And in October, they told me I was going to have to go to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and not transfer until May. So I'm about to transfer. I'm like, I'm going to make every doctor's appointment. We're about to be on shore duty. And it was like, we need you to take the boat to Portsmouth, New Hampshire while she stays in Virginia. And then you'll get relieved in like April or May. And I remember being fearful of going home. Like, I went directly to the jewelry store. I bought a card. I bought her a necklace. I bought some flowers before I even walked in the door. So I can only imagine making like actually doing the thing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you lowering the waterline and being vulnerable here at Leadership State of Mind. You're making some people feel better about themselves and also teaching a valuable lesson. Yeah, man.
Yep.
Yeah, shout out Ty. But yeah, man, I think that it's one of those things where we almost have these conversations in our heads and like go home and like feel like we already had the conversation. At least that's like me. Like I'll start
I
talking
do
to
that
her.
all the time.
I'll start talking to her about chapter 2, and I haven't even read the prelude. Like I haven't read anything to her, and she's like, "What are you
Not the
talking
title,
about?"
nothing.
Nothing. No. I'm halfway through the story already, and I'm mad why she's not catching up. And I'm sure there's reasons why we do it, but what I want you to think about is, man, how much better, how much stronger would you be if you actively communicated with your spouse? How much better would it be if you guys were on the same page and aligned? How much better would you be if you didn't not take that vacation because you had to work? Like, what are the things that you're sacrificing at home that maybe, that whole addition by subtraction, maybe if you didn't stay late every single night and got home early and was there for dinner, or took that vacation that you've been saying you were going to take and reconnected with the family and focused on that, how much of a better leader would you be? And I think that's the real message that we want to get across. And me and O are telling stories, man. Like, none of us are perfect, but we wish that someone was having this conversation with us. I assure you, if this podcast was around, our mom would have loved to hear this message before
Yeah.
he made that call.
Yeah, man. That was
So yeah, I mean, it's got to be a conscious decision. If we talk about, going into work every day with intention and having a vision of what we're going to do at work, and we sit down and we write goals for our career and our future, and we just have all these big ideas, what energy are you putting in at home? What are your big family ideas? What's that vacation? What's that time off that your spouse needs to just get away? And are you either A, ignoring the signs that she needs a break, or are you not aware, not like, oh, you're so emotionally intelligent, you have all this self-awareness, but you missing some of the signs that, you need to support your spouse at home. So take some time off, recharge the batteries, go on that vacation you said you was going to go on, and start to have that conversation at home, and then see how much of a better leader are you when you have that type of support system that is aligned and on the same page.
Yep. And learn to sit still.
No, man. I just sit down.
It's a skill.
Sit down.
It's a skill.
Yeah.
I'm learning it.
How it really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Not well. Well, I'm learning it.
Baseball games get me to sit down. I can sit down and have the baseball game on in the background. Okay. Yeah, man. So what other things did you want to talk about on this topic?
Yeah, I think that for this conversation is actually, it may be 2 pieces. I'm going to need some feedback from those out there that are listening to this. But I feel as though, at least for me, I was in a place early on in my career where I wasn't properly prioritizing things because I didn't have an effective methodology to prioritize. So if I didn't see my calendar, I didn't see the white space, I didn't see those things, I would just overtask myself. And yep, I can do it. Overcommit to things and completely lose sight of reality. So it may be that a part of this discussion too, goes into how do you prioritize these things? How do you, put the things that are important in its proper place in a meaningful way that communicates to your family and the organization that you're working for, that all, these things are important. So, me and Ty, we have a shared calendar. She has access to my work calendar. There's things that I've committed to I'm just not going to do.
Yeah.
It's not. That changes from organization to organization, job to job. You can still be effective if you are properly strategically structuring those things, where you have gone and looked at what's the most important thing, what's number 4, what's number 17. I'm not doing number 21 today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might not do number 21 this week.
Sure.
Because it's not a priority.
Yeah.
I may have to delegate number 18 and number 16 on the list.
Yeah.
Right. So being thoughtful about how to do that, that may be another discussion, that we have to have. Like I said, I'm gonna need your help out there. While we're being vulnerable, all the things that we've messed up. Should we have that follow-on conversation about how to properly prioritize those things? Because that's something I have gotten better with over the years. And so what do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, one of the things that, as you were saying that, the thing that came to my mind is that, you get to a point, especially where we're at right now, where communicating effectively to our boss what we are and are not willing to do, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously we have a job to do, but just having the conversation like, hey man, like I plan on being home for dinner every night. Like, you know what I mean? Or
that part.
Sure. Say again?
I said that part.
Yeah. Like, having that conversation, like, you guys are two adults, right? And, hopefully they're like, yeah, man, me too. Right. But if you get, you might have some people at work that like, well, I'm not married, so it's not a priority to me. Like, all right, well, hey, I'm really glad we had this conversation because it is important to me. And, and just having that dialogue, you can't listen, if you work coming into a brand new job, maybe you shouldn't like make certain demands with your boss, but
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that, but if you've been in the organization for a while and you've kind of worked your way up the ladder and there's mutual respect when you come into certain new jobs, having setting expectations in some of those areas, expressing like, hey, Thanksgiving is a really big time in our household. And so I really that's the time I like to take leave every year to make sure that I'm able to do this thing with my family. Or, summers are when I like to take the family back to New York. So I'm looking for a time frame here that's going to, like having those conversations are super important, right? Because we talk about taking care of people is through actions, not words. Well, taking care of your family is through actions, not words, right? If you tell your family you care about them, you support them, but then there's no action to back that up, you're not really following through on what you're saying is important. So if you know that your family really cares about a couple certain things, whether that be going home for the summer or, a special holiday or whatever those things are, communicate that to your boss so you have the ability to be there for your family, for your loved ones. And so that's kind of like another way of setting expectations that, I think if you do it from the jump, it certainly can be effective to, being able to have that balance that we're talking about that's really important for the family.
Absolutely. And just like everything else on this podcast and how we sync up, the thing that we're talking about, I just got a notification from my daughter ready to get picked up from cross country.
See?
I'm just blessed to be home to be able to do that.
Yeah, man. And so that's what it's about. And, so as we kind of give some of our final thoughts on this, man, like, first of all, I appreciate y'all for continuing to listen in and come with us on this journey. But, if you don't feel like you've been giving your significant other the love that they need, go home and give them a hug. Tell them thank you. Maybe buy some flowers. Do something, whatever it is that they like, just to show them that you appreciate them. And if there's things that if there's things you can do to communicate that, hey, maybe you haven't been doing enough. Well, what is it that you can do to show them that you care and to show them you support them? Because I'll tell you, there's whatever that quote is, right? Behind every successful, person is an equally successful person holding it down at home. I know me and O have had this conversation on multiple occasions. Like, man, it's a lot easier when you got someone who's got your back at home. And
Yep.
so don't forget about those people that hold it down. Look for opportunities to show them love, to tell them you appreciate them. Sometimes those people they don't get awards and recognition for the job that they do. And so that becomes your job and your role. And so show some love back. So Joy, if you listen to the podcast, I appreciate you. And yeah, man, we just, we trying to get better out here. So I don't know, any lasting thoughts? Oh,
Yeah, man. I love the appreciation piece because it's so easy just because of the time spent. You know this person in and out.
mm-hmm.
You've shared some things together. It's very easy to take them for granted.
Yeah.
Very
Yep.
easy to take your family for granted that they're always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a guarantee.
Yep.
It's not a guarantee. Show the love. Show the appreciation. Be intentional about that appreciation. Be intentional about showing that love. And because you just don't know. None of us know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. So it is incumbent upon us to make sure, that we show that the most important people in our lives are the most important people in our lives, and not just use words to describe them. So, yeah.
I don't think you could end that a better way, man. So, hey, as always, please continue to like, share, follow, tell your friends about Leadership State of Mind. We are doing things differently here, giving you a different perspective to become a better version of yourself. Appreciate all the love, all the followers. And yeah, man, till next time, have a good one.